All right, Senator Lindsey Graham got an unexpected reaction yesterday when raising the question of whether or not the ICC requesting warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant means there could be implications for American leaders as well. Let's take a listen.
So we, hopefully, together will find a way to register our displeasure with the ICC, because if they'll do this to Israel, we're next. This group tried to come after our soldiers. Yeah, you can clap all you want to. They tried to come after our soldiers in Afghanistan, but reason prevailed. So at the end of the day here, what I hope to happen is that we level sanctions against the ICC for this outrage to not only help our friends in Israel, but protect ourselves over time. Ms. Secretary, your statement yesterday was excellent. The President's statement was excellent. Senator Schumer's statement on the floor was excellent about the outrage here. They have destroyed the notion of complementarity. They have misled people in the United States Senate about their intention, and they shall and will pay a price. Ms. Secretary, I appreciate what you've said. It is now time for us to act.
All right, so I don't think he expected to get applause from the crowd for that particular idea, but I do think it really exposes how a lot of people in the American public outside the inside baseball field of the blob thinks about what's going on here. Is this really about rule of law and international standards, or is this about different rules for me as there are for thee, and basically using international law to shield not just the United States, but our allies and proxies like Israel?
Yes, I am conflicted. On the one hand, I have, as comes across in our discussions, a deep skepticism of international law and sort of international organizations and authorities. On the other hand, the idea of all of our politicians, literally all of them, being arrested for war crimes or crimes against humanity or civil liberties violations is somewhat appealing. So I might have been in the crowd there cheering. And yes, the idea of it prompts an immediate, it is understandable by why someone responds that way, to say, Lindsey Graham saying, oh no, if these people are held accountable, that means they'll try to hold me accountable. Like, yeah, that's a feature, not a bug.
Exactly.
That's a good thing. However, ultimately, I mean, who's doing, yes, in some sense, a larger government, an international authority doing this, it speaks to I agreed with you yesterday, the hypocrisy of saying that Putin should be held accountable under this organization that he is not, that Russia is not a party to, that we're not a party to, that Israel is not a party to. It invites this exact kind of criticism, but at the same time, I just frankly don't think that the ICC is the right this is the right way to adjudicate military dispute wars between nations, is having this body say, well, now you have to all be arrested. Well, then what if they fight? But then there's a war between the body and them.
It's not that they all have to be arrested, but if you go to a country that is a party to the Rome Statute, that is a party to the ICC, then you will be arrested. And I think that's why it's so meaningful for the three European nations, what was it, Norway, Ireland, and I forget the third now, coming out this morning and saying, hey, we support these warrants. If
Norway arrested Lindsey Graham, we would go to war with them.
Oh, I don't know that that's entirely true, but the question is the ICC going to now stop only targeting people from the global south, only targeting African warlords, and also go after warlords who have caused, I think, proportionately much more destruction from much more affluent and powerful countries across the world. Now, to your point, I think another interesting tell in this speech is that you have Lindsey Graham sitting there being so complimentary of Joe Biden, of Chuck Schumer, of Anthony Blinken. And it's because, like so many things in this context, they're all on the same side. So Blinken has said he is willing to work with Congress on potential sanctions against the ICC. Again, a source of legal accountability that America has chosen not to be party to because it doesn't want to be accountable to it. When it tries to conduct its own business in other parts of the world, America is now saying that it is going to try to punish it by sanctioning that body. And this, again, is a bipartisan effort.
Yeah, it seems like a bad idea, although I think our government leaders, our political figures, should be accountable to the American people, not necessarily to international organizations. But I'm skeptical of sanctions regardless of who they're being leveled against, and it seems like a big waste of time. Lindsey Graham, by the way, is not, he's even among Republicans, he has been and has always been the most hawkish, involve us in foreign conflicts voice in the room. He's advised America to take steps that would bring it to war with Iran. I believe he's advised steps that would bring us to war with North Korea. He is an extreme neocon hawk voice who actually steadfastly opposed Donald Trump at the beginning on that basis, that Donald Trump was not nearly militaristic enough. Then, of course, he saw the writing on the wall and fell in line like everyone else and became, BFFs with Trump, and now has actually criticized Trump when he thinks he's not being hawkish enough. So it's not at all surprising here to see him marching in lockstep with Biden officials on this stuff. If they backed off their Israel commitments at all, he'd be attacking them. It's a core to his ideology as a political figure.
Yeah, and we shouldn't forget that there's another part of this. Over the last 24 hours or so, there has been a siege by Israel in the West Bank in Jenin. And there is some interesting questions being raised about whether or not that has a relationship to the ICC saying that it was looking into or pursuing issuing these warrants for the arrest of Netanyahu and Gallant. Because remember, when this was first floated earlier this year, Netanyahu came out and said, if you do this, if you issue arrest warrants for me, I will retaliate not against Gaza, but against the West Bank. So is the relationship here, and are we basically saying our ally, the only democracy in the Middle East, is choosing to say, if you come after me, I am going to go after more innocent people who aren't even involved in this conflict and engage in this kind of warfare? There have been sniper attacks in Jenin over the course of the last day or so that have killed 2 children in sniper attacks, shot a hospital. The death toll has risen to 8 as a consequence of this siege. One of the children was riding his bicycle, I believe, as they were leaving school. Is this what we consider to be a democracy worth our protection? That if you say an international legal authority is going to charge you with war crimes, we're going to do even more war crimes and send snipers to kill children in a territory that we occupy illegally, also under international law, but which also has absolutely nothing to do with the conflict at hand in Gaza? I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah. Something sort of related to this subject that I want to make a note of, and we didn't have time for it elsewhere on the show. Representative Thomas Massey, who had AIPAC funding his opponent or running ads against him, something of that nature, won his primary in a landslide. Once again, that just happened. Those results came in just in the last day or so. So I want to make a note of that it made absolutely no impact on his race whatsoever.
That is such an interesting shift because AIPAC has often bragged about how what a kind of a win-loss ratio it has, a successful win-loss ratio when it comes to races that they choose to get behind. But what's notable is that AIPAC has frequently, most often, not led with its kind of pro-Israel ideology. That's its whole point of it, as it has backed candidates. So, for example, when AIPAC got involved in the Nina Turner versus Shontel Brown race in Ohio's 11th district, they put out ads not saying Nina Turner is bad on Israel, Shontel Brown is good on Israel. They put out ads implying that Nina Turner was the less progressive person in the race, that she was against the Democratic Party because she had criticized the Democratic Party platform for not being progressive enough. Of course, they didn't say that last part, and on and on and on. So they have been kind of strategic about not making it seem like a pro-Israel interest is interfering in U.S. elections. Now, post-October 7th, it does feel like the lid has kind of blown off. And the fact that they've chosen to go after so many American and public officials across the aisle. There's a big attack happening against Jamal Bowman in New York right now as well from AIPAC, that people are now seeing it for what it is. And then there's some question about whether or not there's going to be some backlash, some negative consequences, frankly, for AIPAC now that it's being increasingly perceived as a foreign interest group that doesn't have to register under FARA like other foreign interest groups have to register, who is openly talking about lobbying American politicians to do things like sanction the ICC and to also interfere in local races and to pick sides, not based, again, on what the constituents of those districts want, but instead about whether or not the politician in question is simply willing to support carte blanche without any restrictions, whatever Israel wants to do on the global stage.
We'll keep following that. More Rising right after this.